How much is a gold glove worth when it's tied to a $30 million anchor? We once believed that Nolan Arenado was built to retire a Cardinal, a monument to defense and dedication on the corner. But when the dust settled on the most bizarre salary dump of the decade, St. Louis proved once and for all that in today's game, sentimentality is the most expensive luxury of all, leaving us with a critical question. What does this brutal business decision tell us about the longevity of superstar loyalty in baseball?
Welcome to 604 News Now, where we dive deep into the cold equations that govern the hot stove, analyzing the seismic shifts created by the Arenado trade and the corresponding war for high AAV short-term contracts like those being courted by the likes of Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger. The sheer audacity of the Arenado deal to the Diamondbacks is what makes it so fascinating and frankly disturbing. St.
Louis shed its defensive icon, taking on a colossal $31 million in salary retention, offsetting the $42 million remaining on his contract, just to get him off the books immediately, receiving in return only an 8th-round lottery ticket, Zach Martinez, a high-ceiling relief pitcher who might scratch the surface of the majors. This was not a rebuild. This was an exorcism of payroll debt.
With new President John Heinblum clearing out Arenado, Contreras, and Gray, subsidizing $59 million in the process, the Cardinals' CBT payroll plummets to a staggering $118 million this year and just $42 million next year. They managed to acquire 0 guaranteed contracts, allowing them maximum future flexibility. As veteran baseball insider Michael O'Connell put it, the Cardinals didn't trade Arenado. They rented him a new home and paid the security deposit.
This signals a total collapse of the commitment structure in St. Louis. They chose financial hygiene over the legacy of the Goldinado era. The counter-argument you hear is that Arenado, entering his age 35 season, showed severe decline in 2023, missing over 40 games with hand and back injuries, while his offensive production plummeted. His .774 OPS was a far cry from his perennial MVP contention years. Yet, we must refute the notion that this justified the near-zero return.
The man is a 10-time consecutive Gold Glove winner, a run tied only with Ichiro to start a career, and a future Hall of Famer. The value of that name alone should command more than a fringe prospect. The real tragedy is the emotional cost. Back in 2021, Arenado consciously chose to waive his opt-out, stating he wished to retire a Cardinal, a decision that cost him dearly compared to his contemporary Manny Machado. Machado, who had an opt-out after 5 years of his Padres deal, leveraged his choice into an additional 11 years and $350 million, boosting his career earnings to nearly $500 million. Meanwhile, Arenado's decision to commit to St. Louis after his initial deal with Colorado leaves his total career earnings far behind. This difference, the financial chasm between the loyalist and the shrewd businessman, is the lesson every free agent is internalizing right now.
Arenado's trade, fueled by his open desire to land on a contender like the Dodgers, who politely ignored him, has become a cautionary tale. This brings us directly to the current market dynamic, which represents the climax of the current player-management conflict. If the Cardinals are willing to dump an aging legend, why would any elite player accept security over flexibility? This logic perfectly explains the ongoing standoff with Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger. Tucker, who the Mets are dangling a short-term high AAV deal of $120 million to $140 million over 3 years, is potentially looking at an average annual value between $40 million and $46.67 million, making him the second highest paid outfielder by AAV, right between Soto and Judge. The fact that the Mets are also avoiding a long-term commitment confirms the trend. Teams fear the late 30s decline, forcing players to monetize their peak years aggressively. As agent Michael P. summarized to us, this $40 million AAV for Tucker isn't just about his value, it's player rebellion. They saw Arenado, they saw the Yankees treating Bellinger like a risky asset, and they said, if you won't commit to my age 38 season, I'm taking all my money now and betting on myself in 3 years. Bellinger faces a similar crucible.
The Yankees offered $155 million, but critically, they refused to increase the total money while insisting on opt-outs, essentially demanding the player take the risk. John Heyman reports that while the Giants and Dodgers are showing interest, none appear willing to top the Yankees' structure, which includes a lack of deferrals, a point of contention for players like Alex Bregman, who allegedly would have preferred Boston over the Cubs if they hadn't demanded excessive deferrals and provided a full no-trade clause.
Bregman's concern is understandable. Deferred money is often just money saved by the owners, shielding them from the luxury tax, forcing players to wait decades for their full payout. The trade of Arenado for an eighth-rounder confirms that the power dynamic has shifted entirely back to the front office, leading players like Tucker and Bellinger to hedge their bets through high AAV short-term contracts.
The D-backs, meanwhile, pull off an incredible strategic coup, acquiring a motivated, albeit declining, future Hall of Famer for pennies on the dollar, strengthening their clubhouse and their third-base defense immediately, allowing them to finally move on from the highly inconsistent Jordan Lawler experiment at the hot corner. This transaction, executed with cold precision, illustrates the modern baseball axiom: you pay for the future, but you only commit to the present.
The landscape is set. The $40 million AEV, short-term contract, is the new battlefield for the elite, driven by the ruthlessness of the salary dump era pioneered, unfortunately, by the Cardinals. But what do you think? Is Alex Bregman right to demand a no-trade clause and deferred money after seeing what happened to Nolan? Or should these stars swallow their pride and take the long-term deal?
Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, share it with your fellow baseball fanatics, and subscribe to 604 News Now for more deep dive analysis.